how are we today? Welcome back into the PCM store. If we haven't met already, I am Sam. I'm your plant collector in Melbourne. And today, I'm hoping that you like this setup. This is the first time I've kind of done this because today we will be repotting some beautiful Anthurium hybrids. I will share with you all the tips and tricks that I have for repotting your Anthuriums or your Anthurium seedlings. If you are enjoying this planty content, please feel free to subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into it because Sam has a lot of repotting to do. So let me show you the Anthuriums, the beautiful, magnificent bubbas that we will be repotting today. Da, 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 da. Aren't they stunning? These guys have well and truly needed a repotting. They came into the store maybe 2-3 weeks ago. They finally settled down. I think these guys had some sort of fungal infection or dried out a little bit, and that's why I wanted them to settle into their new environment, and now it is time for a good repot. I did do a video on Anthurium seeds quite some time ago. I'd say it was almost a year ago, if not more than a year, and it was to do with when you have your seeds and you're transplanting them into soil. And now these guys are definitely more of the seedling type. We are definitely getting to our juvenile stage. So what do I need for today? I have my trusty succateurs just in case that they need some trimming. I've got a scooper pooper, also known as a trowel. I have got all of these gardening pots, which I am hoping will be enough, but you never know. I think I've got 40 in here, so hopefully that will be enough. And of course, I have made a delicious mix and putting lots and lots of amendments. This is what I prepared earlier. So what do I have in here? I have some cocoa coir, majority of it is cocoa coir, some pumice, some orchid bark, some charcoal, some slow release. In my mixes, I normally like to do more orchid bark than cocoa, but this time around, because these Anthurium seedlings are quite little, they do need more moisture, and that is why I have amended it and put more cocoa in it. So that is all ready to go. Whoa, let's hope that I have enough. Let's tie up our hair. Hopefully, if you guys are ever repotting, you're not like me and you haven't cut your nails, because I have a feeling that all this soil and dirt is going to go under there. And I've got some trusty plant tags because especially with Anthurium, I'm a big fan of labeling them, making sure that you remember or know the parentage. Of course, needless to say that most Anthurium are mostly hybrids, or it's really hard to track the family tree of the plant and what species and what hybrids are into it. So I do think that the more labeling and knowing of what your Anthurium is that you can do, it's probably better. But also to take that with a grain of salt, because not everything is foolproof. Sometimes you buy some plants and they say that it's some type of hybrid or it's got these parents. Always to take it with a grain of salt. So where am I going to start? I'm going to start with these Anthurium wild crystals. So we've got 2 of these in there. Oh, look at that. Beautiful roots. They're all white. They're all healthy. Amazing. So that's been sitting in some jumbo perlite with some sphagnum just at the top to keep it moist. And it seems like this baby has really and truly loved it. Now, like I've said, these seedlings are very much used to really wet conditions. So we're not going to put it in some super chunky mix. We're going to be putting it in a water retaining mix. And I'm going to tell you guys a little bit or some tips that I have particularly for Anthurium seedlings. One of them being that I would normally put these guys in a clear plastic pot so that we can see the roots and to make sure that we're not overwatering or underwatering. I do have that in one of my videos as well. Additionally, I would put some very mild slow release fertilizer just because of course these guys would need a good feed. Nothing too drastic. So I'm using some commercial slow release fertilizer that normally is a very low dosage so it doesn't over fertilize the plant. Of course, I will be feeding these guys with some CCS as well, just because CCS, unlike other fertilizers, really hones down on younger and juvenile plants. So I will definitely be using that when I'm watering the plants. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like there is definitely like Anthurium seeds hype. I feel like so many people are either making seeds, buying seeds, growing seeds, and making seedlings. Yeah, I feel like there's a massive hype. So I would love to know your experience on how growing them. In the past, I feel like I have done putrid in growing seeds, specifically Anthurium seeds, because they grow so slow, and I think that there are things that if I could go back in time that I would change, in which case stay tuned because I will be giving you those tips of growing from seed as well. But for now, let's just keep repotting. I've got one of these beautiful things done, and I'm going to put this there to make sure that we know exactly what it is. The roots are looking awesome. And normally I don't like repotting when a plant has a new leaf coming, as per example A, but things don't always go to plan. And I love to give them a little tappity tap tap. So I do have to acknowledge the fact that in my New Year's video that I said that I was going to be way more consistent in my videos. And here we are in Feb, and I still don't think I've done many. So I do have to apologize to you guys. Life has just been so crazy, and yes, I do want to be consistent, and I've actually filmed 2 other videos before this one, but they just weren't great quality. I wasn't happy with them. The energy, it wasn't right, and I wasn't happy to put them up. Thank you so much for waiting so patiently for my next video. I promise I can do better. But in the next couple of months, I am very busy, but I will of course try to do my best. So this one is definitely my favorite by far. This is a Heinz Magnificum Crystallinum hybrid, and would you just look at that? It truly is like Heinz. It definitely is screaming Heinz to me. Oh my gosh, the roots on this is amazing. They're so healthy. This is so root bound in that little spot. I have some people ask me, when should I be fertilizing or feeding my Anthurium seeds? Carrie from the Mellow Pot has actually given me some advice when I bought some Anthurium seeds from her, saying that it's a good idea to start feeding them after the 2 leaves. And so I've been doing that, just because I don't want to overdo it when they're really young. And if anything, when they're rooting and they're little tiny seeds, they don't necessarily need it, but just to avoid over fertilizing. So my ultimate tip for doing Anthurium seeds is feeding them. So I have struggled with Anthurium seeds for a very long time. So these were the things that I knew. I knew that Anthurium seeds needed to be wet constantly. I knew that it needed high humidity and that they needed light. Boy, do I have an updated idea of Anthurium seeds now. So one of them being that you can definitely look at my past Anthurium seed video. There's nothing that I would necessarily change, but there is definitely lots of things that I want to add. So let me put this guy in soil first. Look how gorgeous she is looking. Okay, so let's put her down. Let's put her down here. One of the key things I think is that the Anthurium temperature for like optimal growth is the best when it is stable, or when there's less fluctuation in the temperature. Another one is I forgot to feed them. So like I said with Carrie, start feeding them early after the 2nd leaf. But 2 things I've been doing is now I'm starting to feed a lot earlier with CCS, which is perfect for like your juvenile plants. And additionally, what I've been doing is I've been using a foliar spray on top of, and they seem to grow so much faster, which makes sense because clearly I was starving my plants, I wasn't feeding them. So that really played into the slow lack of progression for my Anthurium seedlings. They're actually down there and they are looking atrocious. So I did those like over a year ago. I would say like in winter. They still haven't done anything. So I've definitely learned that you definitely need to be feeding them. Additionally, light, I think that you don't need to bombard them with too much light, but a good constant amount of indirect light is always a really good idea. Additionally, when you're repotting it, a layer of sphagnum at the top will never go astray. So another thing that I'd like to talk about in regards to anthuriums and seedlings is that what are the biggest challenges I found growing anthurium seedlings and seeds? One of them is the consistency, like making sure that things don't dry out, getting fungal infections. I think that a lot of the time, especially if you have a lot of seeds and a lot of other things going on in your life, it's so hard to keep on top of the seeds if you're not constantly looking after them almost every day or every other day. So I think the consistency is definitely the hardest part of growing seeds, that and patience, because they tend to sometimes grow really slow. Another one would be fungal infection. So catching those little dots or things that are rotting in the act, being able to identify them and then also like taking care of them. So putting antifungal when you're finding things that are rotting. So I think those are the biggest challenges that I've had. And I think that there are a couple of things that you can do to kind of alleviate that. Things like sterilizing your seeds or sterilizing your growing media, I think is one of them. I'll show you something that I found recently and it has been a game changer. I did it in my last video where I grew seeds in takeaway containers, the ones that you would normally get from any kind of takeaway, but I found these guys in my mum's place. So I didn't buy these are actually just like repurposed and recycled. But essentially my parents end up buying like Filipino dishes, specifically noodles that would go into here. And once it's done, I ask to take them. And these are awesome because they can hold so much media and so much seeds in them. They're really awesome. One thing that you can do to alleviate making sure that you're watering them enough or they haven't dehydrated is keeping them in a sealed tight container like this. And you can poke some holes in it so that you don't have to like aerate it every day. I found that is really, really useful. Oh, I feel like I should also note that this soil and media may not work for you. Forgot that disclaimer. Purely because I am in Melbourne. Our conditions like fluctuate heaps. I know that in Cairns it's a lot more humid, so you might not necessarily need as much cocoa coir than what I'm currently using, or you find that this dries out too much. Please keep in mind that your soil or your media may need to adjust depending on your conditions at home or where you live and your environment. Hey, do you want to come on the camera? I'll introduce you to the people of YouTube. This is Adam. Do you want to say anything to your new fans, your new viewers,
Let me just say
that
it's a pleasure.
Use your words carefully.
No, it's a pleasure to have you up here.
Oh, thanks. You're lucky you said something nice. This is Adam. He is the owner of the Brunswick Nursery. He is I don't know, what would I call you?
What would you call me?
Like, we're not partners, but we're like partners in crime. He's my partner in crime. So did you come to help me? To help me repot?
I came to give you a word of encouragement. Doing a great job. I don't want to cramp your style.
Oh, you always cramp my style.
Good to see you.
Bye. We're finally done. I thought I did a lot of anthuriums and repotted heaps, but I've only done 26. But they're all done. They are all labeled. I'm going to give them a good water with some CCS, which is, where is it? So I'm going to shake it up and grab this delectable golden juice. And now I'm just going to water these bad boys. So that, my friends, is it. Thank you so much for hanging out in PCM with me, and I will see you guys in my next video.